Alright, so this is the Me'ashalach of Parshat Yitro on Anokhi Hashem Elokecha. Anokhi Hashem Elokecha v'lo ne'emar ani. In Pshat, it's not such a question, right? Because Anokhi is archaic. It's like the royal we, right? And Ani is just me, right? But he's going to be Dorish it. We'll see, okay? So it says, Anokhi v'lo ne'emar ani. So what's the significance of the kaf? What's the significance of Anokhi as opposed to Ani? Ki ilu haya katuv Ani, if it would have said Ani, haya mashma shegila az hakadosh baruch hu Yisrael et kol oro b'shleimut. Ani is sort of the naked I, the naked me, the way I am. Anokhi is not. Like even when the queen says we, right? Because the saying we creates a distance. The royal we creates distance. Okay? So there's a familiarity, like in German and in Yiddish, there's, when you speak to somebody, the familiar you is dear. But when you talk, when you're formal, you say ear. I don't know if you know how your Yiddish is.
No, but right? Like in French.
Right? Oh, right, vous and
tu.
Vous and tu, right?
So
it's the same thing. Yeah. So here he's saying, if we would say ani, that's like the informal, personal. So that would have meant that the revelation at Sinai was complete. Hold on. So, 1 second. Isn't that what we think? Where'd you go to elementary school? I'm just trying, because this goes back, everything goes back to elementary school, right? Like what they taught you in Kita Aleph.
I went to public school.
Went to public school. So I don't know how much your mind was contaminated when you were young, right? But they taught, where did you go?
I was in MTS, Manhattan Takes.
Okay. So what they taught us, I went to Eitz Chaim, which is, right, doesn't exist anymore, great school, but they taught us to be frum, right? And they told us that Har Sinai was the ultimate revelation. Things were clear at Har Sinai, and everything that follows, in a sense, all of subsequent Jewish history is to try to recapture that moment. We're further away from Har Sinai. What they tell you, Yeridat HaDorot, right? We're further away. It's a standard Haredi thing. I mean, it's based in Chazal, right? There are mirot in Chazal. Memhema kibnei Adam, memhema kamalachim, anachnu kibnei Adam. Memhema kibnei Adam, anachnu kechamorim, v'lo kechamoro shel Pinchas ben Yair. Right? Not quite, right? So, but this is a different take.
Yeah, but also Revelation is an ongoing
that's because you're a Makulka, because you went to public school. That's why. Right? But people who went to yeshiva, elementary school, nobody told them that kfira, okay? So let's see. If it would have said ani, right? Haya mashma shegila az hakadosh baruch hu Yisrael et kol oro b'shleimut. V'lo yuchlu achar kach la'amik b'dvarav. Then there would be a problem with that. It would have indicated that God revealed himself completely, and the problem with that would have been is there would be no way to go with it. So that's the beginning and the end, right? If I explain everything to you, so you walk away and have nothing more to add, right?
Well, or you've got as much as God already has.
Whatever, but it means the same thing, right? There's no place to go. There's no place for human development. There's no mystery. It just ends, right? So what is the Anokhi? Ach hakaf, the letter kaf, moreh al she'eno b'shleimut. The kaf indicates that the revelation is incomplete. This is key here. V'rak dumut u'dimayon hu la'or she'yigaleh HaKadosh Baruch Hu la'atid. What is the kaf? The kaf is the kaf ha'dimayon.
Kimo.
Ki. Right? And Allah, you have hero kedibur, shomea kaoneh, right? Kaf, when you compare two things. So he says that the kaf in Anokhi is like a kaf hadimayon. You see how amazing this is? So what is it? Now read the pasuk the way he would read it. Ani ki Hashem Elokecha. That's what he's saying it means. What you see, it's God is coming down on Har Sinai, or not. And saying what you're seeing here is something like me. It's a projection of me. It's a lavush of me.
But there's really much
but
more.
It's not me. Right? It's not. If I said ani, then what you see is what there is. But I'm saying what you're seeing is only an approximation. A kaf hadimayon is only similar in some mysterious way to me, but it's not me. The revelation is incomplete. V'chol ma sheyasig ha'adam yoter amkut b'divrei Torah. When a person, so now a person has, since the revelation is incomplete, you can always go deeper. So the more you explore and the more you understand, yir'eh she'adata haya b'choshech. So then when you understand more, you'll say, 1 second, that means what I stood before, I thought I understood before. But I realize now, looking back at what I thought I understood, I was in the dark then. And only now do I understand that yesterday I was in the dark. But yesterday I thought I was in the light. Okay? V'al zeh merameis hayom v'halayla. Hayom. Okay? Did you get the book? Thanks. Okay? Hayom. Hainu she'Hashem yitbarach potech sharei chochma la'adam. Day is enlightenment, right? V'halayla hainu shelo yidmeh adam she'isiga kol b'shleimut. That's why night has to follow, so that you shouldn't think that what you understood is ultimate. So God always has to wake you up, so to speak, and say, no, no, no. You think you understood? For a moment I let you think you understood, but you didn't really get it. So that's the Laila. Ki kol ma shehisig hu kilayla neged hayom haba acharav. So every moment when you have an enlightenment, there's also a realization that you were in the dark. V'chein le'olam. So it's an endless process. Right? The revelation is incomplete, and it's necessarily incomplete because the process has to be infinite for a very simple reason, because God is infinite. Okay? So you can never get there. Umemele hakol hu laila neged haor shiftach chadash baruch hu la'atid. So everything is relative. Everything is night compared to the or of the end. But you never get to the end, really. La'atid lavo is always la'atid lavo. Right? V'zeh, look what he says here. So the point here is, in a sense, you never get there. The name of the game is not to get there. The name of the game is to be on the train, right? Is to be in the process of getting closer. But it's like Zeno's paradox. You're getting closer all the time, but you never arrive. Okay? So it's always Laila and Yom. You're growing, but every time you grow, you realize how little you understood. Right? So there's also a built-in humility into the process of growth, which is very important. Okay?
But it's still directional. It's not Sisyphus.
Right. It's directional. Right. V'zeh because it's Jewish. Right? No, that's very important. V'zeh shenismach me'achar lo taselecha pesel. That's why after it has Anokhi Hashem Elokecha, it says lo taselecha pesel. What does that mean? V'ita b'zohar mishum d'chstiv psolecha. Look, he has to tell Moshe lo taselecha pesel. Because for Moshe it's a pesel. What does that mean? Al kein ne'emar lo tasel lecha pesel. The lo tavid lach oraita uchra. Don't make the Torah, he's alluding to that, into some sort of pesel where you think everything is revealed. V'inyan bezeh, this is why I brought the pictures, you'll see in a second. Kimilat pesel hu davar mechutach b'midah v'ketzev ubahashlama b'li shum chisaron shum davar ba'olam. What is a pesel? Why is a pesel such a bad thing?
Because it's really accurate.
What?
It's really accurate.
A pesel is finite. Right? You can hold it's very powerful. When I went to India twice. The first time I was really shocked when I saw psalim, because you can see psalim. I don't know. You go to the Met and there are psalim. Or you go to the Israel Museum and there are the little Canaanite fertility goddesses. And you look at it and you laugh. You say, how can anybody worship such a thing? But when you go to the east and you actually see people like preparing a mincha, like kneading dough in front of a pesel of an elephant embedded in a tree, right? Or burning incense, there was something very powerful. I still get goosebumps when I think about it. It was like more than 20 years ago. There's something very powerful. And when I saw it the first time, I said, oh, I could see this. Because there's something very powerful about holding your God in your hand. It's like very immediate. And what he's saying
but
is...
But you're controlling it.
What?
But you can control it.
No, you've read... You know too many midrashim that don't really get into what idolatry is about. Yeah, like the story with Avraham Avinu, that he broke the psalim, and he told his father that they fought with each other. That's like making fun of psalim, but it's really very powerful. You have to go and see it. Okay? So, what he's saying, something about Pesel here, is that a Pesel has distinct dimensions. Right? It's finite, it has an end, it has boundaries, right? And that is exactly what the open-ended revelation is supposed to go against. If it would say, Ani, right, Hashem Elokecha, then you would have been over Lo Taseh Lecha Pesel. The reason it says, Anokhi Hashem Elokecha, is that it's a kafat dimayon. The revelation is incomplete. And don't take this incomplete revelation and make it into a pesel and make it finite. It was to say that something is certain is to be over Avodah Zarah. That's what he says. V'zot eino nimtza rak b'Torat Moshe Rabbeinu. Only Moshe Rabbeinu could see it all. Because Moshe Rabbeinu is a symbol for God. Now's not the time to get into that. Moshe Rabbeinu is a symbol for God, so he sees it from a different perspective. So God can say to Moshe, Psol lecha. But for everyone else, Lo taseh lecha pesel. Do not make the Torah into a pesel. Right? Aval b'seichel enoshi, and that's the rest of us, right? Ein be'efshar l'takein davar kazeh b'shlemut hagamur. Ki lo nigle la'adam shum davar ad tachlito. People do not have access to total revelation. Nothing is total. Okay? So, what he says here about Pesel, let's take a look here. Look at the second side. Okay? So there are 4 pictures here. I'm actually going to hold it. Tell me if hold it to the camera. Can you see? Does it? Okay. All right. So somebody can pause and then look at it. Okay. So if you look at these pictures of Psalim, the top one is distinct from the bottom 3. Okay. So this is from a book called Myth and Symbol in Indian Art and Civilization, written by someone named Heinrich Zimmer, who was a story in itself, but we can't get into his history. It's an amazing book, okay? So he wrote as follows. He was German. He had to run away from Hitler.
What is his name? I'm sorry.
Heinrich Zimmer.
He was Jewish?
German, no. He was married to a Jewish woman.
Oh, that's why he ran away.
Well, no, he ran away because he just didn't fit with. He had a position in the university, in the university, and where was it? I don't remember. Leipzig or something. I don't remember. And he had to run away. He left the night. He was fired, and he left. He came to America. He was at Columbia for a couple of years, and he died suddenly. Very, very tragic. Anyway, he was like in his early 50s when he died. Anyway, so he has this book. He has a lot of books, but this book is called Myth and Symbol in Indian Art and Civilization. So he talks about the Jains. Jains are an Indian religion. It's not Hinduism. Okay, but so Jaina art is characterized by puppet-like stiffness, barrenness, and rigidity. He's talking about the top picture. If you look at it, right, this is an Indra. Indra is the king of gods, but there are a lot of kings of gods. I don't have to get into the whole pantheon now. Okay, he's fat. That's not because he eats too much. It's very heavy. Okay, so it's a puppet-like. If you look at the eyes, they're bulging out. You see the top one, yeah. Like the doctrine and life experience that it renders and interprets. Look at the jump that he makes. It's exactly the jump that the Mashiach makes. The Mashloch says that if, so you can take the thing with me, right? The Mashloch says that if you look at the Pesel, which has finite measurements, then basically you're limiting your own consciousness to possibility. Just like the Pesel is finite in space, you put up boundaries in your mind and you think you understand everything and there's no place to go. So he takes the physical attributes of a Pesel and he interiorizes them into psychological or spiritual qualities that the Pesel engenders in a human being. Okay? So this is the same jump that Heinrich Zimmer, who did not know about the Mashloch, okay, says. The art is characterized by a puppet-like stiffness, barrenness, and rigidity. Like the doctrine and life experience that it renders and interprets, it is archaic fundamentalist, inflexible, unsophisticated by any alleviating insight. Nothing ever dissolves into undifferentiated, transcendent, subtle essence. That's the Pesel the Mashloch is talking about. Okay? Interesting? Okay? Now look what he says about these three psalim below. Okay? And if you look, I like the one furthest to the left. First, it conveys the creation myth. Okay? You look, that's called a lingam. It's a phallic symbol. And the person inside emerges through the hole here. You see?
Oh, yeah.
But if you look carefully, one furthest to the left on the bottom.
Yeah.
If you look carefully around the boundaries of the hole, of the passageway, it looks like it's not finished. Can you see that?
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Right? It looks like it's not finished. So look what he says. The solid, static mass of stone, by a subtle artifice of the craftsman, has been converted into a dynamomorphic multiple event. He made up the word dynamomorphic. Dynamomorphic means dynamic creation. Right? To morph is to
Like moving
create,
shapes.
right? So it's a dynamomorphic multiple event. If you look at the two to the right, like all the limbs, it's like an explosion, right? In this respect, this piece of sculpture is more like a motion picture than a painting. This reflects the notion that there is nothing static, nothing abiding, but only the flow of relentless process, with everything originating, growing, decaying, vanishing. This wholly dynamic view of life is one of the fundamental conceptions of later Hinduism. Right? So this is the response to the Mashloch. Somehow, what they managed to create a Pesel which is not chatuch v'katsuv b'midah.
Which is active.
Right? In other words, they were aware of the issue that if you create a Pesel which is finite, then what do people do with psalim? What do people do then with psalim? What do people do? You meditate on the Pesel. Right? So you absorb the qualities, the artistic qualities of the Pesel. So if the Pesel is cut and dry, then you're going to get a very cut and dry human being. They're used to seeing things perfectly clear, right? Okay. But when it's out, when it's not cut and dry, when it's not finished, so it opens you up to infinity, and that's what he's describing in the lower three, and that's what concerns the Mashloch, and that's the Kaf Hadimayon. Okay. All right, we'll stop here.